All right, welcome to the OG Gambling Syndicate. I'm Joe Giglio, joined by the King, Reilly Dunn, Groove Wagon. I never get the names right because I call them my own things, but the Chillers, the Fence Hoppers, they can be yours. All the great places. Peace Street Market is my go-to spot. Tap Yard, another spot that you can go and get Groove Wagon drinks, Delta 8 drinks
Mm-hmm.
to go.
Neighborhood is a good one.
Neighborhood. Neighborhood. There we go.
Neighborhood.
My people.
They're
Tyler
fantastic. Yep. Boy, Tyler. His mom actually drinks the hell out of Magnifico.
Magnifico is the one I don't mess with.
It's too strong for you. Right. I
gotta stick to the fences and the hoppers that I'm used to.
Neighborhood's a good one. Bowstring, of course. Actually, Tasty, great bottle shop.
Okay. I see you repping there too. I like that.
I am, and that was actually totally inadvertent.
That's fine. Hey man, you gotta take care of the people who take care of you.
Local loyalty.
I want to get into some things we got right with our NFL football season. I want to get into some things that we got wrong. I want to look at one bet in particular this week that my brain is melting on this particular line. But first, I have a I don't know if it's an existential, philosophical question for you that I've been pondering this week as some of my friends have now gone through 7 months of legal gambling. So here we are. We finally got legal gambling in the state of North Carolina in March, right before the NCAA tournament. And I think most people enjoyed it because they were able to win some money on NC State.
That state run was the best thing to DraftKings bottom line.
Or anyone's.
Bottom line.
It was huge.
Oh my God. Huge. Absolutely.
Gambling's been by volume has been a huge success for the state of North Carolina, which makes me wonder, what in the world were you waiting for? As someone who sells legalized weed, I'm sure you're having the same thoughts.
All the vices, let's get them going.
But now 7 months in, the state run that did provide for a lot of novice gamblers for sure. Now some people are getting to the point where they're like, no, wait a second. Does anybody actually win when it comes to legal gambling? So I have my thoughts, but I'm curious as someone who's picked up their life and moved to Vegas at once or twice in his life to do some of these things.
So the answer is yes.
It is yes.
Okay. The answer is yes. Now, being the book is always great if you can do that. Part of it is just, how seriously are you going to take this hobby? Discipline and bankroll management are always a big part of whether it's poker or sports betting. That's a really big thing. I mean, as I was telling you, good God, man, 2 weeks ago,
you had one of those good ones.
I'm like,
you don't even
smug,
but I'm gonna put.
I'm smug. I'm crowing. I'm like, oh my God, I can't lose. Just banger after banger, cash it. And then the last 2 weeks ranged from bloodbath. 2 weeks ago was, I think, the worst week of NFL betting I've had in 15 years of doing this.
Okay.
And last week was also pretty brutal. But to your question, if you're disciplined, it is absolutely possible to be a profitable sports bettor. Nate Silver you don't need to read the book, to be honest, but his latest book about, I think he calls him The River. I don't even remember the name of the book. It was fine. But he has this whole thing on like sports betting is eminently beatable because it's a large surface area, meaning they can't. There's kind of this mythology of like, oh, they always set the lines perfectly. They know exactly what they're doing. There's actually a lot of selection bias in that. Like you'll notice when they get a line
perfect,
totally perfect. And
Florida State, Miami this week was 21.5. Miami somehow wins by 22.
So you will notice those. But there's a really cool anecdote in there. It's like on average, your typical NFL line is 10 points off of the final outcome.
Really?
Yeah. So it's not that these books are unbeatable. And also, there are so many different things that you can be betting on that you think like, oh, well, surely they have these massive teams and it's all algorithmically optimized. Not exactly.
Right.
Like, this is why you'll see the real sickos who build an expertise in something like WNBA first half overs. You know, like if you develop a domain expertise, you can do that. Where things can get hairy really quickly, and this is a liability of mine, is action for action's sake.
I was gonna say when you chase, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. Like college football, there's a reason you never hear on this show with me ever talk about it, because I am terrible at it. I don't really watch it. If I do, it's with notions from like a decade and a half ago, you know, based on what I remember 3 coaches ago. Anyways, I'll still find myself betting those.
Now, this is college football, not college basketball.
College football. And
because to me, college basketball, I think like most gamblers think, right? In the NFL, there's 16 games at max, right? In a week. I mean, they can hone in on those 16 games pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? College football, there's 120 teams. Then you figure, well, there's what? 20 of them that really matter. So they can hone in on those particular games fairly well. College basketball, sir, there's 360 teams.
And
they put a line on all of them.
That is a great example.
They put a line on all of them.
That is a great example of what Nate Silver is talking about in this, about the large surface area to defend. You know, if you can build expertise in that. Golf is another one. I actually know
golf, the payouts are the best. That's, you know, that was the answer from my friend Josh Goodson. He had said to me, like, does anybody win? And I'm like, well, you do. Because when you win your golf bets, and when you win your first round leaders, and when you win your tournament leaders, that's you win. Like winning is defined by being up. Yeah, it's not the number of bets you win; it's being up.
That is okay. That's absolutely right. And also, at least for myself, I find prioritizing high conviction stuff to be, you know, a lever that you can pull. And what I mean by that is, you won't always feel equally about every game on a slate. You know, even when I do pick 5, which I always do, I love that format, super contest style.
The best.
It's great. It really is. And every week
scratches an itch too, man.
It does. And every week almost every week, there'll usually be 1 or 2 games that you feel especially good about. In that situation, what good gamblers do is that's where they'll bet 2 or 3 or 4 units as opposed to their usual single unit bet. And then alternatively, if you're going to be goofing off with parlays or props or anything like that, I mean, always be bonusing.
No, props are different, but parlays, man.
Well, if you know,
so hard,
size down. Size that down. Bankroll management is really key. And that is why part of the always be bonusing isn't just taking all of the promos that they're offering you. It's also deposit bonusing. You know, and
get a couple extra dollars when you can.
Yeah, getting those incentives. And tracking. That's another big one. Like I've
lost that with legal gambling.
Oh man, you got
tracking the old way was easy.
Because
you had a yellow pad or you had a spreadsheet, and you knew everything. Right?
Get your Google Doc. Get your Google Doc with every single bet that you're doing.
I have absolutely lost my tracking with legal gambling.
That's key. That is really key if you're taking it seriously. And again, not everybody is trying to take this seriously. You know, folks just like to goof around. And again, I'll say for myself, with legal sports betting, it used to be so much friction, you know, trying to find a book or a bookie or however, when you were in Vegas, whatever. There used to be enough friction that it would be concentrated for the most part on higher conviction things. Even when I was using an online sports book, it was just a whole to do. Now it's like,
I was gonna say, isn't that part of it? Isn't effort part of this?
Yeah.
The old days, listen to me, I'm turning 50 this year. The old days, like even when I went to the ACC tournament in DC, the DC laws are kind of screwed up so that your phone doesn't really work. But they do have a real life sports book, a Caesar sports book, in the arena that you literally have to go to and bring money and go to a window and get a ticket and bet. And that effort actually slows you down.
Totally.
And the fact that it's like real money, because again, they're not like, oh, here, take my credit card. No, sir.
Yeah.
There is one form of currency here in one form only.
Yeah.
Oh, you have bonus bets in your other account? I do not care.
Yeah. Well, so
you need cash to go.
There's also, I have a very good friend who is currently crushing a pick 5 pool that we are in. And it's very funny because he proudly remains ignorant as he makes all of these picks. Like, it is pure vibes.
Oh, about what else is going on.
Oh, there's no research involved. He just looks at the list, vibes out at the start of the week, and is like, that's it. And he's crushing. And so there is something to be said for going with your gut. And as you're thinking about these, who knows? Maybe there is something to be said for a vibes-based approach to this. I'm going to overthink things, and I actually will find sometimes what I'll do is in various pools, I'll take the ones with higher buy-ins more seriously. So I'm agonizing all week and really doing a lot of thought. And then there'll be ones where I'm like, oh, well, this is a more casual one. I'll just dash off at the start. See if I'm getting takes.
You froze. There we go. I think we're back. Perfect.
Cool.
Perfect. Oh, listen, our friend Sean here on the comments. There's a great tracking app called Pickit. Tracks your wins and losses across most of the major betting apps. Also provides lines across all those apps. So, Sean, appreciate you pointing that out to me, because that is something. That is something. I'm telling you, I used to do it religiously when I was basically gambling offsite, if you will. And I feel like it also allowed you to realize, okay, like I like to bet on NBA quarters. So it was like, oh, here I'm 3-1, and when I take the Magic as a home favorite, I'm 1-3 when I take the Magic on the road. I'm, you can go by team, you can go by situation, you can go by a favorite, underdog, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like that Trackit might be our Pickit might be our friend. So I appreciate you there, Sean.
Sweet link.
And I apologize for the technical difficulties there. When Joe is not here, he's kind of in charge of those things.
He does have a very particular set of skills.
He does. They are not fantasy football, though. So if we could take a quick break here. We started a league at the beginning of this year,
Joe Wagon.
And you somehow corralled both me and Ovius into this league. I knew Ovius would spiral out. What I did not realize is that I would provide Ovius's only win of this season.
This last week.
Wow.
Yep.
That's embarrassing for me.
Rivalry week. Anything can happen.
Embarrassing for me. And look who's in first place. Team Thugonomics. Oh, that's Reilly.
It's your boy. Team Thugonomics. Yeah. I did have my first loss last week.
Who's even good for your team, man? You got Kyron.
Come on, Mr. Joe Mixon.
You picked up Braylon Allen to go with your Brees Hall.
Brees. Nico, when he comes back, he'll be great.
Baker.
Actually, if for those of you who are doing season-long fantasy, which is probably all of you, Peter Books, one of the most long-established sharps in all of season-long fantasy, he's really aggressive about trading for injured guys this time of year.
Okay.
Especially if you're good. Rostering injured guys gets very frustrating, can be very painful. And if you're good, especially, and you think you'll be playing for the playoffs, start tossing out offers, because there are a lot of folks who those bags are starting to get heavy. Their rosters or their records are maybe not
they're
where they
trying to
wanna
get
be.
in.
They're trying to get into the playoffs. Go prey upon them.
Yes.
Take advantage of them.
Come get Puka Nacua from me.
Yeah, go get your
Marvin
injured
Harrison, who's
guys.
driving me absolutely bonkers.
There's a little frustration
shit.
on the what we got super right and super wrong. I'm going to start with wrong. This is the most wrong I've been about anything, sports betting, gambling, or otherwise, which is really saying something because I'm wrong all the time about all sorts of stuff.
I feel like we all are, though.
All sorts of stuff.
That's what kind of drives me crazy about some of these things.
Okay.
Like, I've won 60%. I've won this. I've won that. It's like,
I thought the New York Jets were going to be good.
Okay.
Like good. Like betting their season overs, getting as much Brees as I could get a hold of. Oh my God, that team is bad.
Okay.
They are bad. It has nothing to do with Rodgers' health. I honestly don't even think a lot of it was, coaching at this, but they're just bad. They're a bad team. They're probably poorly coached and untalented, but my God, that was one that I just got totally wrong. Less wrong, but still wrong. Houston is really frustrating to me because the way that I think about them, and you called it actually, something you were correct about. You called this really great stat that they had actually scored less total points last year than the Colts.
Yeah.
That's kind of continues to track. And what's frustrating about them is their record is good. Their defense
they have a really good record.
Their defense is pretty darn good. What's funny to me is they are very clearly content to do just as much as they have to do to win. They're also very frustrating because they will have a lot of drives that stall out, and then you get Kaimi Fairburn time.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at weeks like last week, like Stroud will even have some good yardage weeks. The touchdowns just aren't there.
Yeah, 11-4 on the season, 11 TDs, 4 picks,
and he's it's similar-ish to the Chiefs now in that the Chiefs, they just care about beating you. They don't need to put up a million points.
There's no Belichick war machine. Just keep scoring to piss people off.
And that is important if you're doing fantasy of any sort or you're looking to actually cover some of these spreads, is which teams like Baltimore, who just had their little meltdown against Cleveland, but like for the most part,
they've had 2 meltdowns this year. Also the Raiders and the Browns. Like
Harbaugh, to give him credit, he wants to kill you. And if they have a chance to truly beat you, they will. Dude, Detroit will.
The most fun team, the only fun team. That was the one thing we were right about. We were both right about them.
Super on Detroit.
Looking at that schedule going, man.
Super on Detroit. They will whoop that ass, which is cool. Shanny will do so as well. And when they've been a little bit weird. There've been a ton of injuries, but like, they're kind of doing that. I'm just starting to get a little on the things course correcting. I've come around on Atlanta recently. The last few weeks. I did think that they were going to be middling, especially when super early in the year they won a game against the Saints that they had no business winning, let alone covering. And at that point, I was initially like, okay, I knew it. This team isn't any good. And then pretty quickly, it did start looking like Kirk Cousins and this offense have figured some stuff out. I think Kirk went a little nuts last week, and now for the last few weeks I've been on them a little bit more. Not holding on to your reads for too terribly long, and it's a good time to have this conversation because it is right at the midpoint of the year. Another one that
I was wrong about the Packers. They're 6-2 now.
They're good.
The thing about them, though, is it's going to be all about the playoffs. Like, it's one thing to get there, which I think I probably expected them to get there, but people were so excited that they fell short against the 49ers, and they were sure it was going to be this continuing upward trajectory. And I just would still caution that it doesn't always work that way.
I'm still pretty in on them and the Vikings, although the Vikings, maybe their defense has just been figured out. Flores' scheme is really good, but folks have questioned whether there's that much talent on there. I don't know. I personally believe in him as a defensive coach, and even offensively, Darnold, I don't think he is a pumpkin. I think KOC is a pretty good coach. Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in the league. I still believe in that team. In terms of course corrections, I looked up in the middle of last week's Washington Bears game, which thank God for that Hail Mary, because I needed that one pretty bad. But the Bears, I woke up midway through and saw, their record on the screen was like, the Bears are what, 4-2 at that point or something? Like maybe 5-2 and 4-2, I think. I was like,
yeah, the Bears are 4-3 on the season.
yeah,
so.
That was crazy to me, because that team is not especially good.
No.
They're still getting a fair bit of respect from the books. And going back to the framework I like to use of deciding Garbo and meh and legit and kick ass, the Lions seem like they're super kick ass, even losing Aiden Hutchinson. The Bears, for me, are still a pretty meh team. And I honestly, I don't know. The Jets, I'm currently calling meh, but man, they might be garbage.
Give me the thought process. The Jets are hosting. The Jets are 2-6. They're terrible. They just had an embarrassing loss to an awful Patriots team. They're now at home on a Thursday night, short week, with an ancient quarterback who cannot elude the rush, and they are somehow a 2-point favorite against the Houston Texans.
Well,
what is the sportsbook either trying to tell us, or like what red fire alarm is going off in your head when you see this?
I have no clue, because like everybody else paying attention to this, it immediately jumped out, and actually I think it might have even opened as 1.5 and is now 2.5, I think. So if anything, the line is moving further towards the Jets.
That's insane, right?
It strikes me as crazy.
What is the handle on this game? Let's see.
It strikes me as crazy, but
78% of the bets, according to DraftKings, have been placed on the Texans to cover.
Yeah, that checks out.
I'm surprised it's not more. Right?
Yeah, it's a really weird line. There's a couple others that jumped out. The Giants and Washington, I think, was one that looked a little weird.
Washington road 3.5.
Yeah. I think if you look at,
and there's a bunch of wonky lines this week.
There are a few wonky lines.
The Ravens 9.5 over a Denver team.
That was one.
Kind of been playing well.
That was one. Now, going to the earlier thing, Harbaugh does like to kill folks, and there definitely have been a couple games where Bo Nix has under 100 yards, and they're not. But also, I do think that Denver defense is good, and they
run. They can shorten the game. It's not like the Ravens aren't going to run either.
That was one that did also jump out to me. Green Bay and Lions is a weird one, because I think if Jordan Love was totally healthy and it wasn't possibly going to be Malik Willis, I think that line I think would be a little different, because
Detroit 3.5 on the road.
On the road,
Detroit just blazing, smoldering hot.
Yeah. And Green Bay has a gimped QB. Aside from that, though, I don't know. If it was healthy Jordan Love, that would definitely be one that I'd be like, 3.5 points at home. They're being 3.5-point underdogs at home in division.
I'll tell you the team who's driven me crazy. And there's nothing you can do to control it. Like in my primary fantasy league, Puka Nacua is my number one pick.
Yeah.
It's a keeper league. It's full PPR. Okay. It's 12-team league. I'm picking near the end of the draft in the first round. I took Puka Nacua feeling really good.
Yeah.
And then he gets hurt in the first quarter of the first game. And my team has kind of sort of stayed afloat in that league.
He's back now, man.
But now he's back. I was like mad last week.
Yeah.
I'm like, I was like one of those crazy pills. Like, I thought this is what the guy was going to be.
Okay.
Right?
So one thing that we were pretty darn correct about at the start of the year is those Rams vibes were in fact terrible.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they start getting hurt. Now, two things on that. One, Kyron finally has been priced up on DraftKings to be $8,000 to start a running back, but there has been a good long period where if he's under 8,000, he's basically a lock button for me.
And that's a weekly fantasy.
Yeah, in daily, in weekly DFS, because they use him so much. And
there's been no Blake Corum revival or whatever that people follow.
There has been none of that. And also, folks love to dump on him for he's kind of small. His physicals aren't great. He's good at football.
Yeah.
He is good at football. And I personally, with the Rams, it seems like they're getting healthy. And Stafford is, if he's upright and not hurt, he's had a few little nagging things that have randomly cropped up here and there over the last couple of years, but their offense with everybody healthy is really, really good. So I've been looking at that line against Seattle this week.
2.5 Rams on the road.
I don't know. That is one that of the higher conviction things, I do like that one a lot, because when that offense is healthy, their defense in the post Donald era, has been nothing special at all. But I really do like that offense when healthy.
All right, before we get out of here, I've been locked in on. I've been doing a Chiefs Lions parlay that you can still get decent odds on. Chiefs to win the AFC, Lions to win the NFC. That way, you're not picking the Super Bowl winner. You're just picking the two teams to get there. DraftKings does occasionally give you the name the finalists, and they do have it this week. It's 10-1. I believe the number when you do it my way is just a little bit better. If you parlay them, it's just a little bit better.
Real sharp stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Is there anyone else that you see
Buffalo
getting in the way?
Buffalo is one that maybe it's overly vibes, but
still only 9-1 for the Bills to win the Super Bowl.
Buffalo,
I just want a better payout than that.
I agree with that. Buffalo is one that they've had a few games where they have looked pretty darn good, and also kind of similar to what I was thinking about the Eagles, who I'm actually starting to get back into a little bit. I don't know. I'm a sucker for the teams that have been perennial contenders that it feels like, again, vibes, but it feels like we're not really paying as much attention to. And Buffalo is a big one for me that a couple weeks ago, I started kind of thinking that, and then they've started doing some really good stuff again. I like that Amari Cooper is there. Keon Coleman, who was kind of doing nothing, but he now is getting a pretty good amount of attention. Oh, before I forget, the Colts benching Anthony Richardson
is a good thing or a bad thing?
I love it.
Yeah.
for at least for their wide receivers and for fantasy purposes. Josh Downs is good. Yeah. He is good at football.
Yep.
And
Wolf blood.
Yep. And with Flacco, I like him a lot. There's a whole roster of wideouts there who are actually pretty interesting, and you might be able to get, similar to how folks were kind of assembling a lot of Green Bay wide receivers, not really, having any particular reads on it. I think it is starting to consolidate a little bit into, it looks like Josh Downs is a fixture, but also, there's other pieces there who are probably on your waiver wire and are worth speculative bets. Also, if Romeo, going back to the Packers on that, he's probably rostered everywhere, but if Romeo Doubs, I'll never say it correctly, but if Romeo is around, I do like getting him because for whatever reason, people like Reed does seem like he's clearly the guy there, and he has kind of broken away a little bit, but Jordan Love really likes throwing to Romeo in high leverage spots. Like,
I drafted him on my teams this year because of his performance in the playoffs last year. And then I don't know what happened in the first 5 weeks of the season, but he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And now lately it's like, oh yeah, here's this guy I had all the success with in the postseason.
Oh my God, nothing better than having a read and bailing too quickly. Done that with Evan Ingram in a lot of places, just lost patience with rostering an injured duder. Romeo is another one who I've had rostered in a lot of places, then cut, then immediately went to try to reacquire. But that is definitely a place to go value hunting. Them and the Colts, I think, have a chance. Oh, also, if you get a chance to go get Garendo, he's cool, if nothing else. The Niners. Yeah, Niners. Dude, it's cliche, but he looks like he's being shot out of a cannon. I mean, he really does. And Christian, is coming back. Maybe
Is he?
try to. That's the thing, right? That's the thing. It's like allegedly they've opened up a 21-day window. They're getting their bye, but if they don't, Jordan Mason seems to like keep picking up these little injuries. And when he's in the game, I freaking love this Garendo dude. He looks like doing stuff. Related, the Bengals keep insisting that Zach Moss is a thing. He's completely just a guy. Chase Brown is one that like it feels like sooner or later they really will have to just go with the better dude. And then of course, Bucky Irving is, not Rashad White, and he has that going for him down in Tampa.
Sean Tucker kind of getting in the way.
I love Sean Tucker. Big Sean.
Syracuse guy.
He looks hefty. It's a 3-back deal, so that's a little frustrating, but like, I don't know. I like the idea of having pieces that are not Rashad White. That guy as a runner is beyond not special. He's pretty good as a pass catcher. But you start needing to get some folks at this point, at least, who have the opportunity to potentially be that breakthrough, and you're drawn pretty thin at this point in the season. So I would start price checking on any of those guys who might either be on your waiver wire, or maybe you can trade for them. And, a couple of those. Ray Davis is another one. James Cook's really good when he plays. I don't know. Who knows? Turf toes can be difficult. So that's it. You got your notions. Always feel free to text me.
I got it scrolling on there right now.
Hell yeah. 919-306-8598. I will happily give me a call. The folks text, but you can actually call me. I will just pick up and chat to you about all things gambling and Groove Wagon.
I was gonna say, and if you want to get the hopper, you need a chiller. Thatdamnwagon.com. Thatdamnwagon.com. Best way to enjoy your Delta 8 seltzer drinks.
Bang.
All right, King. Appreciate it. Be good. You. Best of luck to everyone out there. Hopefully we can answer that question. Do people actually win?